I recently replaced the right-hand side foot peg after a slight peg door frame interface incident. Although it's simple to do, some people might not know how to do it, so I thought I'd give the left-hand peg a bit of a clean and grease to match the other one. As you can see, the peg was comprehensively broken, and the part I had to order was just the inner from TLM Nijmegen in the Netherlands, because getting anything in the UK right now is a pain for reasons. The rubber part's just held in with a couple of bolts, so it's pretty easy to replace. And here's the part details in case you need them. The peg is held in place with a Clevis pin retained with a circlip, so ideally you need some circuit pliers. I like this type with the removable heads. You can change them for different sized clips, and you can also reverse them so that they're either spreading apart or clamping together when you squeeze. They can be a little weeble wobbly compared to fixed circlip pliers, but in practice I've never found that to be an issue. The flexibility of being able to swap the heads around is just very useful. So the first thing you need to do is take the circlip off. Be careful not to spread the clip too far apart. You only just want to spread it enough to take it off. You don't want to actually bend the metal and risk it not fitting on as tightly when you put it back on later. So push the Clevis pin out and put it somewhere safe. And now you need to be pretty careful with the next part. There's a ball bearing and a spring arrangement, which in conjunction with the shims is what locks the peg in the up and down positions. So you need to wiggle the peg out carefully and try and make sure there's no gaps for the bearing to escape. They do like to ping off into space, never to be seen again if you're not careful at this stage. So save yourself a lot of hassle and just be a bit careful here. You can see the shims come out at the same time. So you can see there's a little bit of grease on it, not a huge amount. Again, it looks like CV grease, so that's what I'm using. Just give it all a clean up. Clean off all the old grease. Clean up the mounting bracket on the frame. Give the Clevis pin a bit of a clean as well. May as well while we're in there. As you can see, the grease is very dark, which is what makes me believe it's moly grease, so that's why I'm using the same type of grease to put it back together. This is just some grease I bought from a car spares place many years ago, lasts for ages. I use it on various things. Not expensive, just a small tube of moly grease. So I tend to put grease on both sides of the shims, and then they will actually stick back in place, which makes fitting the peg back a little easier. So give them a good smear of grease on both sides, and they should stick in place temporarily. And I grease up the bearing surfaces on the peg itself as well, just to slow down the wear. And I tend to put a dollop of grease in the spring housing and kind of stick the ball bearing into place with that. And make sure the ball bearing's got grease on it as well, obviously. And that should hold it in place whilst you're trying to wiggle it all back together. There's no right way to do this, you just need to compress that bearing into the body of the foot peg and then wiggle the whole lot in between the two shims, hopefully without them falling out. And you'll feel it click when it's in the right position, and it should hold itself in place. And then to this point you realise you forgot to grease the Clevis pin, so it's just a case of sticking the pin back in, clean off the groove, then back with the circlip pliers. Just reattach the circlip to the end of the Clevis pin. Make sure it's in properly and holding in place, and job done. Anyway, hope this was useful to someone who might not know how these things fit together. See you in the next video.